Let's turn our attention to France now, where thousands of anti-racism demonstrators gathered in Paris and other cities to protest against police brutality. Sparked by the death of George Floyd in the United States, French campaigners are highlighting similar local issues. The rallies have been organised under the banner "The Truth for Adama," after Adama Traoré, a young black man who died in police custody, with protesters chanting slogans calling for justice. The government allowed the demonstrations to go ahead despite the coronavirus restrictions. Well, earlier we spoke to the journalist David Chazan in Paris, and he spent much of the day on the streets of the French capital.
The police say that about 15,000 demonstrators gathered in Place de la République in the heart of Paris. That's where I was, and I'm sure there were at least that number of people there. And the protests were generally peaceful, but some demonstrators did throw fireworks at the police, who responded with tear gas. Now, most of the protesters had dispersed by the time I left a few minutes ago, but there were still a few left, and police were clearing the square. Riot police with shields and helmets prevented the protesters from carrying out their plan to march from Place de la République through Paris to the Place de l'Opéra, but they did allow the rally to go ahead in Place de la République, and thousands of protesters also gathered in other French cities, in particular highlighting that case you mentioned of Adama Traoré, a young black man who died in the custody of French police. Lots of similarities, parallels being made between his death and George Floyd.